you're taking that yoga posture, when you go to a yoga class or you practice at home, what brings you into alignment. So anything, say this is my posture today and it is teaching me how to constantly readjust.
This is probably the best posture that I've ever, I mean, I never knew, I'm 51 years old and I've never known about this particular posture. And I probably have been taught it before, but it never really resonated with me until just now. And as hard as I've been working trying to be back inside of my body and not outside of my body, you know, because if you have any type of chronic pain or muscle pain or anything that's happening, you're always trying to get outside of your body because you don't want to be sitting in that pain. So I've been trying to bring myself back, and sitting in this posture is like, I could sit in this posture and like sit at the computer and do my work, or I could.
But think about it like that. If you are sitting in this posture and you're doing your work, it would become uncomfortable. Why? Because you're focusing on your work and your body starts to kind of rest in positions that are not good. So that's when you think, okay, I'm going to use this example as me being out in the world. I'm standing. Standing is a posture too. You can be conscious standing, but when we're out in the world standing and talking to another person out on the sidewalk, we're not thinking about it like that. We're in pain because we're not consciously standing in our body. So you can take these postures that you practice every day and you're reconfiguring, how do I be comfortable in this position? And the more you practice, the more you can go out there and stand in a conscious position to actively participate and be present when you are in the world.
And the more
so it just takes, the more you practice.
The more you practice it, you don't even have to be really conscious of it because you're automatically doing it. Where you
Over time. But you're also strengthening those. You're strengthening those connections from your mind and your body, and it becomes like a natural way of living. It's pretty amazing. So that's why sometimes, even for me, I started yoga back in 2016, and I go through phases where I don't have a practice every single day. It's like a journaling practice. You can get into it for a week and be off of it for a week. Did you need to do it for that week? Maybe you didn't need it. Maybe you were busy experiencing life, and when you get ready to need it again, or get ready to be conscious again, you go back to your practice and you pick it up where you left off. You're not restarting every time you restart your practice. You're not restarting a journal when you go back to it. You're living your life. You don't have to live in this like, every day must look the exact same. I must do this every single day. Yeah, it's good to like have that intention
and consistency. And I think sometimes when we get out of that consistency,
we think that we have ruined everything,
and we just quit and like go to something else.
Yeah.
This isn't working. I've heard a lot of people
But
say
then
that.
whenever
This isn't
you go,
working for me.
But then when you go back to your practice, you're like, whoa, it did work because I've learned something in this time I've been away. You come back to it and you're like, oh, that's what I was trying to do before. And sometimes people ask me, are you still doing yoga? And sometimes I don't understand the question. I'm like, every breath I take is yoga, so I guess.
But I think that a lot of people don't understand.
I know what they're asking from their point of view, but I don't know how to answer it because I don't know how to give the answer where I'm answering their question but also portraying what I'm answering. If that makes sense. I just get really confused. I'm like, am I doing the Western version of yoga? Probably not. Do I practice a full vinyasa practice every day? No. Do I take really deep breaths into my belly before I get out of bed in the morning? I do. Do I sit in bed and watch the sunlight come into my eyes and take a deep breath? I do. So, did I do my practice this morning? I did. Yeah.
Practice can be, so what you're saying is practice can be different for everyone. It depends on
I'm saying
what
every
you
day.
adopt as your practice.
Every day it can be different. Taking a step out the front door can be your practice. Not getting out of bed at all can be your practice. Because guess what? You decided, I'm going to rest today. I'm not going to go out and overwhelm my nervous system when it needs rest or when it needs to recalibrate. You're listening to yourself. And sometimes our daily lives don't allow us to do those things. But if we stop for a second and ask ourselves what we need, we can find avenues to bringing ourselves what we need. We frown upon people that call out of work for mental health day.
You can call out of work because you have a fever and you're vomiting and you have diarrhea. But
Why do you need to wait till you're vomiting and have diarrhea?
You can't call out of work because you need a mental health day or because your body is just telling you that you need to rest. That's not allowed. That's where we need to change our culture, I feel like.
When I was in massage school, I did that all the time. And I didn't feel guilty about it. For some reason, I was just really comfortable in my environment there, and I was able to really push for what I needed, even though it wasn't the norm. I think it takes being surrounded by people you're comfortable with to actually push. And if you don't have other people on the outside of you sometimes supporting you to give yourself what you need, then you're never going to give yourself what you need. So surrounding yourself with people that want you to feel your best is sometimes the best thing. And if you're working at a job where people are not supportive of that, well, guess what? That's probably the wrong job for you. And if your work culture isn't supportive of your health, then that's most definitely the wrong job for you. Unless you want to be that person in your job that's like, let's change something. Let's look at this a different way. And if the people around you don't want to morph and grow with you, then go find another job that's going to support that lifestyle.
Because we spend most of our lives in our job.
Yeah, exactly. If the people around you are too resistant to change and working with you, and if the people around you don't want to change themselves, and you can't, and your influence isn't, sometimes we can have all the influence in the world, but the people, certain people around us just are not open at all. They don't even have a little bit of opening to think, oh, maybe I should try that. Sometimes you just have to leave and come back later and say, you want to try it again?
Sometimes it's not the right time, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, rant over.
Rant over.
Rant is over.
Stay tuned for the next DNA episode. Stretch your body.